slots. You can hear a little click. You put in the wire, and then the threads move back together once you pull out the needle. The tail first, almost forgot. Hi and welcome. Let's talk about the wooden adjustable punch needle. So the punch needle consists of two parts. We have the handle, the wooden handle, and it has a little rim inside, which you can see right here. And then we have the needle. It's a hollow needle and it has 6 slots, which allows you to make different height loops. At the top of the needle you will find a hole and a sharp point to punch with. The needle goes into the handle like this, and then the rim will fall into one of the slots. You can hear a little click, and then it's stuck, so it won't move. If you want to adjust the height, you simply turn it and slide it over to the desired slot, and then turn it back and make sure the rim falls in and it's stuck again. So let's talk a little bit about the yarn. For the punch needle you need a specific size. In this case it's a chunky size and it's quite a soft and smooth wool. It shouldn't have too much texture because otherwise it might get stuck inside the channel. I prefer to use natural fibers like wool, but that's of course up to you. But the question is, how are we going to get the yarn inside the needle? You'll need a threader for this. So this is your typical threader. It's an iron wire. It has a loop on the end and it's quite a thin wire. It's quite bendy, which makes it easier. But I prefer to use a weaving needle, which is a needle that's used for other purposes normally, but it's a large needle, larger than the punch needle, and it has a large hole which makes it easy to thread, so I prefer to use this one. I'll show you how to use both. If you buy the punch needle in my shop, you get this weaving needle with it automatically. So, how to use the wire. You have to start from the top. You have the hole and you have two sides. So you have the side where the wool comes out and the back side. So the back is where you put in the wire and then you put it straight through the entire shaft. And make sure it comes out on the other end, and there you have the loop, and you have to thread the yarn through this loop. So thread it and then you can pull the other end, and then you get the yarn all the way through the needle and through the hole all at once. Then you make sure that the threader is gone and you pull on the yarn. But with the weaving needle I feel it's simpler. So you take the yarn and you thread the hole of the weaving needle, which is quite easy. You take the punch needle and you start from the back. That's very important. Then you take it through and you also go through the hole. Make sure that it goes in at the front, not at the back, and then you pull on it and you're done. So now let's start punching. We adjust the size of the loops to quite small loops, so make sure the front part of the needle is small. Then we take our monk's cloth in this case, make sure it's tight in the hoop, and we can start to punch. So we put the needle like this with the tail following us, and we make sure that the front of the needle is facing us, so you can see the yarn coming out of the needle right there, and then you go to put the tip in and punch it all the way through as far as you can go. Make sure the handle is touching the cloth. Then for the first stitch, I always pull out the end like this, and then I pull on it a little bit from the back, make sure it's a little bit shorter so I don't waste too much yarn. Then I pull it up all the way until the tip of the needle is touching the cloth, and I move it over about 2 or 3 holes and punch it back in. And now let's see on the back side what actually happens. So when I pull the needle back down, in this case, I create the loop, and then I move forward with the needle a little bit and I push back up. So now you can see I formed this little loop, and it's been caught in between the threads of the fabric. So that's why you need a specific fabric, monk's cloth in this case, because the threads move back together once you pull out the needle, and that's very important. It grabs the loop. So let me make another one. Go back down, come back up, and now I've made another loop next to it. And so you go on like this, just pull back down, move it up, and this is how you create loops. So let's look at it from the other side. This is the side you punch in. I've made these stitches a little bit longer than I should have, but I couldn't see it, so I pull up, make sure I don't stab myself in the fingers, and I push back down. So it's very important. Now I turn over the needle to face the same direction as I'm going in. Always, that's very important. Now I'm going to lay bricks. So I'm going to punch in at the middle of the previous stitch. This will make sure that the loops on the other side are even. And as you can see, I pull up, I don't leave the cloth. I move over and I go back down immediately. That's very important. So now on the other side, you can see that the second row put loops in between the previous ones. And that makes sure that the area gets filled up really nicely. So when I'm done with my row, I cut the yarn next to my needle and pull the needle out. And now you can see here I've got this nice row of loops, and they've all been grabbed by the fabric. You don't have to worry they won't come out unless you pull on them really hard, and the more loops you put there, the stronger it stays. So always have slack with your yarn, that's very important. And now let's see if we can make longer loops. So we put the handle in the last slot. So now this part of the needle is longer, so we're going to create longer loops. Have the tail in the back, push back in, and now let's see. I pull out the tail first, almost forgot. And let's go to the next one. So laying bricks again, push it back in like this, and pull it up, and it takes longer because the needle is longer, and push it back in. So on the back, as you can see, the loop is much longer now. And this is so much fun because you can create really cool texture this way. And this is what it looks like from the back. I really hope you now get a better understanding of how the loops stay in place and how punch needling actually works. It's so much fun, and the result can be really gorgeous. This is the flat stitch on the front, and let's speed it up a little bit. And there you go. Gorgeous texture. So guys, that was it for this video. I really hope you liked it and you learned a lot more about the adjustable punch needle. But if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask them down in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer them. And if you're interested in buying the punch needle, then you can go to my shop. I will leave a link down in the description below. So if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up, that would really help me, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of this kind of content. So I hope to see you next time. Bye!